Okay, so I just want to talk about a few things real fast here. I'll share my screen. Where is the page I want us to talk about? That's not what I want. Too many tabs open. My goodness. Okay, we'll just go with this one. You'll see my forecast, so don't. Actually, I don't really care if you see my forecast because that's literally the USL 22Z. But okay, so we'll go down to cumulative results. I'm sure you guys know what you're doing when you look at this. But I just wanted to look at the team standings really fast. Like I said, we're not doing too bad so far. We're approximately, let's see, we go down here. Does that pass us? Did we fall down that far? Yeah, we've really dropped compared to what we were. We were 23rd, but now we're 37th. So I guess, I mean, room to improve. Best way to put it. Yeah, I mean, as long as, let's see here, as far as school goes itself, we're not doing terrible. Basically, as long as you're in the negatives, which I'm sure you guys know you're okay, you really want to stay in the negatives because your worst score gets dropped. So as long as you stay in the negatives, you'll be okay. And then if you've missed 10 absences or more, you actually get dropped from our team standings. So basically, the number of valid scores less than 10 of a full year registration. So we'll have some people fall off eventually, and that'll help our score bump up. But right now, we're pretty drugged down. But yeah, so that's that. The other thing I really want to talk about was shirts. If we could start getting the payments in, that would be great. Do you all still want shirts that you ordered? I'm assuming so.
I'll rescind my order.
Okay, because I have your order you had last year. I still have that, but I didn't know as far as payment goes, if you wanted to do it. I mean, I can accept it in person. If you wanted to give it to me in person, I can meet you somewhere. But I mean, we can do Venmo, PayPal. It doesn't really matter.
I'm just going to wait until next semester.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That sounds good. Okay. Yeah, I got to start getting things together because I know I had some people back out. Like I think Dr. Bucher backed out on his shirts, which is understandable, and whatnot. And I've had some more people add on. So yeah, I'm just trying to get things rounded up. I'll really start getting that kicked into gear this weekend. I'll start sending out emails and texting people and whatnot for those. Okay, so that goes through that, and then I'll actually show one more thing. We'll do my entire screen here, so that way I can stick on this. So as you've all known today, we were, I guess I do have one more thing after this, not anything major. I'll show it first. Down here in ILX, actually, they're in a red flag warning, which is basically fire conditions down here. And they said it was the first time that they were in a red flag warning in nearly 5 years. Down here, if we look at the, I don't have this pulled up, but I saw it today, the rainfall, what we typically get from October of this year, from today to like a month ago, and then to 2 months ago to August. In ILX, some of their areas are actually down 6 inches of rain. And so they really haven't seen a whole lot of rain anywhere. And with the gusty winds and the low humidity and those the dry areas actually resulted in some fires today. So I'm going to show you this here. This is the GOES satellite channel 7, which is the shortwave IR. So it'll pick up differences in temperature. And I really want you to focus on basically this area here in east central Illinois. I want you to see what we've got going on here. So as you see here, there's all these dots popping up. Those are actual fires that happened today. And so if I turn on some overlays here, I can give you a better idea of what these were, where they were at. But yeah, all these were fires that popped up today, and I actually saw pictures, and there was more than these. These are just within the past hour and a half, 2 hours. There were a lot more, and I actually saw pictures, and some of these actually looked really intense. And this one over here, and I don't know what county that is. I should know, but I don't. That one's been going on for quite some time, so that's probably a pretty big fire over there. Most of them have actually, I mean, obviously went down. The wind's dying down as the evening progresses. But this was a very big issue today, and it's going to be a little bit of an issue tomorrow. But a cold front's going to be moving through, so it shouldn't be too bad as we get into tomorrow. But these conditions did exist today, and it was the first time in a really long time that happened. So that was a really interesting thing today. And so since that's all that I have, I will turn it over to Anthony and let him present about Hurricane Dorian. Go ahead, my man.
Thank you very much. All right, let's see if I can get this screen share. Start broadcast. First, can you hear me? Just want to make sure.
Yep, we can hear you.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, thank you. All right. So this is about Hurricane Dorian. This hurricane was actually the strongest hurricane that actually hit the Bahamas last year, and it was really interesting because, and I'll talk about it more in the presentation, because people thought it was going to come like right into Florida, but it just kind of stalled at the Bahamas area. So let's get started. And this is about how hurricanes form. So if I can do something here. So how hurricanes form. So usually hurricanes form off the east coast of the east coast of Africa. And usually hurricanes kind of form in anywhere in the ocean in the US, but usually in this area in the orange, that's where mostly hurricanes form. And usually it just depends on like how warm the water is in the ocean. Every hurricane usually starts as a infest and a tropical depression. It depends on like how warm the water is. If it gets really warm, then it gets really intensifying. And wherever it moves, if it gets warmer, then it gets stronger. If it gets colder, then it starts to weaken. Same thing with typhoons and cyclones, but they're just different areas of water. It just depends on how warm the water is in those areas of the oceans. So this YouTube video will talk about the path of Hurricane Dorian itself, but I just want to talk about it personally myself. So it started off of Africa, then it moved off, and it became a tropical depression just north of South America. And as soon as it passes, I forgot what island it's called, but Barbados. As soon as it passes Barbados, it became a Category 1 hurricane when it hit Puerto Rico. And then as soon as it went through the Atlantic Ocean, went past those little islands of the Bahamas, and went up north and kind of made those little loop into like the little Bahamas area into the Florida state. It became strong when it crossed through the Atlantic Ocean, and it strained to a Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 4, and then it became a Category 5 hurricane when it hit and it stalled at the Bahamas with winds at 185 miles per hour, gusting to 220 miles per hour. And after weakening to Category 2, it went up north to strain to Cat 3 in Georgia and South Carolina. And then it was a Cat 3, then it weakened to Category 2. And then it went to North Carolina as a Category 1 hurricane. And this YouTube video will kind of describe it more what I'm talking about. Sorry about the ads. Here we go. So obviously, it starts off as an infestile. That's what the L stands for. It's called infestile, where mostly hurricanes or tropical storms or cyclones usually start off as. And then it forms tropical depression north of South America. Then it went to tropical storm. Here's Barbados. And as soon as it's about to cross Barbados, it didn't become a category, but it started to become a Category 1 hurricane. So it passes towards Barbados. and then it's about to straight as a Category 1 hurricane by St. Juan in Puerto Rico. Here it is right there, just went past there. And what I'm talking about is when it comes, this area of the ocean is very warm, and that's how I got all this energy to get a Cat 5 or Cat 4 or 5. So here it is, it became a Category 4. And here, let me pause this real quick. So the National Hurricane Center predicted that by its movement, it was going to go past Freeport, Bahamas, and into Florida. But as you can watch very closely, it kind of slows down and then it stalls right at Freeport, Bahamas, because there's amount of high pressure by Florida, and which causes to push it away from Florida, and it just decided to stall there. Then it became a Cat 2, went up north, so it went back and forth to a 2 and 3, hit South Carolina as a Cat 3 and Cat 2. Then it went into North Carolina to a Cat 2 to a Cat 1, North Carolina. Then it went off to the northwest where Boston, and then it was still a hurricane. I can't believe how strong it is. Then it became a Category 2. Then once it crossed Halifax and Sydney, it weakened and it was like gone and forever forgotten. Let's go back. Okay, so the destruction of Hurricane Dorian. It was actually, when I first saw it, it was like total destruction. Like 185 miles per hour. There's like, I don't think it's like survivable because it's total destruction, so much wind, I don't think you could survive a hurricane that strong. So Hurricane Dorian killed 65 people and 282 people are missing in the Bahamas, and it also injured thousands of people in this hurricane, not in the Bahamas, but anywhere that was hit in a hurricane. And when I said about the destruction, it was like total destruction. Caused about $7 billion in damage of houses, buildings for workplaces, schools, all sorts of different buildings around the Bahamas. And about 300 or more houses in the Bahamas were destroyed. So I have a couple websites I want to show here. Get out of YouTube real quick. Okay, so I have the track, I have before and after, and the path of destruction. So here's some Photoshop photos of about the different sizes. Here's the hurricane September 2nd at the Bahamas. It's just really, I just can't believe it. Like, it's like a very big hurricane. I've never seen anything like that. It's just absolutely crazy. So it was right by Florida and the Bahamas. Then September 4th, it went up north. You can still see the eye, and because it went into Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina in that area. September 5th went to South Carolina. You still see the eye. It's still a strong storm, even though it's weakening. And then September 6th, when you can still see the eye as a Cat 1, but it was still weakening, went into North Carolina. Down here talks about most of the buildings destroyed in the Bahamas. Kind of summarize it where in the Bahamas was the most destruction. So by Freeport, High Rock, Marsh Harbor, and the Abaco Islands, in that area where Dorian hit them, had the most damage in the hurricane. And here's where the path went. Here's like the area. It was like, even though it went like east and then went up north, it still like covered the whole island, even though it was like by like sub patches of islands. Here's the destruction. I mean, when I first saw it, I just couldn't believe it. Like, it was just total destruction. This one over here is actually kind of cool. This is a before and after Hurricane Dorian. They say this is a photo slider. So over here over here's the before. This is in March 2019. This is before when it hit hurricane. Yeah, it was before Hurricane Dorian hit the Bahamas. And as I slide it to the left, absolute total destruction. Like everything was like gone in there. I mean, I just really couldn't believe it when I saw it. Just crazy destruction. People lost their lives, their houses. I kind of felt like everyone was like poor in there. I mean, it was just very sad when I first saw their destruction. So it also affected the natural environment. People lost power. Obviously, the power poles were down. They had no electricity. They had no, obviously, the telephone wires were down. They had no cell service. I mean, it was just bad, very bad. And people who were traveling to the Bahamas, who had to go back to the U.S., there were lots of cancellations and delays at the airports. And also, there was water shortage. Like, people didn't have enough water to drink, and there wasn't it was like people running out of water. Basically, it was like people didn't have enough water to drink when the hurricane went through. So the support for the community, obviously the Red Cross, the FEMA helped out. They donated a lot of money. They gave them food, water, all sorts of supplies to help them survive for the next couple of days when they get everything cleaned up and get all the buildings rebuilt. And also local efforts raised $1 million to help the Bahamian residents, to help get, like I say, get food, water, clothes, also pay for their housing damage, all that sorts of stuff. It was just incredible how they stepped up and helped out these poor people. So this is very interesting. I was watching the Weather Channel one day, and they were talking about extending the hurricane, the extended Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale. So usually it maxes to a category 5. And when I was talking about that this hurricane was 185 miles per hour and gusting to 220, if they extended the hurricane scale, it could have easily been a category 6 or a category 7 hurricane. It was that strong of a hurricane. It would have been crazy if they would have extended the hurricane scale. So my conclusion, it was the worst hurricane in 2019 of Hurricane Dorian. Caused $7 billion in damage, killed lots of people, and there was a lot of devastation. People losing their houses, people losing electricity, and also people losing water and food. This also concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. That was a good presentation. Do you have any questions for him?
Yeah, I've never heard of the extended Saffir-Simpson scale. Who came up with that? And I guess what are the criteria for extending it to a category 6 or 7 hurricane?
Well, it was never like a thing. People were just like thinking of like maybe putting it out there because there was a lot of strong hurricanes in the 2019 season. I just kind of felt like this one was like a really big, strong hurricane, and they were talking about possibly extending the hurricane scale to 6 or 7. I mean, there was a lot of strong hurricanes in the 2019 year, and they could have possibly done that. So,
cool, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah, that was a very good presentation. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate that one. So, I mean, that pretty much concludes everything I had. Does anybody have any idea what we should do next week at all? Don't have any ideas? I mean, I can come up with something, but I just want to see what you guys think. I can throw together another presentation. I can do something. It's not too bad, but no?
I think we should probably try to do some like trivia on weather history.
Trivia and weather history. Okay, we could do that. We can do that. We used to do that in person. But yeah, we can do that as long as I'll be the moderator. I don't care, or I'll be on a team. I mean, you know how I am on a team. I really don't care, but. Well, if you're on my team, we're gonna win, so that's all that matters. But I mean, we can figure it out. Yeah, we can do some trivia. That sounds good to me. Well, we can plan on that for next week. And yeah, so I think that pretty much concludes our meeting today. Once again, thank you, Anthony. Appreciate that presentation. So I will see you all back here next week for some trivia. So get your minds ready and get ready to have some fun. So, all right, we'll see you guys next week.